Hey there, welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is your go-to place for really getting to grips with those big concepts.
That's right.
And today, well, we're putting together something just for you. Think of it as your ultimate study session to really master the management of organizations.
hmm
We know you've got that important exam coming up, and our mission today is simple.
Yeah.
Distill those complex ideas, give you clear, real-world examples, and yeah, arm you with some practical tips for recall.
Exactly. We want to make sure these topics really stick, not just notes on a page.
So you feel totally prepared and confident walking into that desk.
Absolutely. Think of this as your personalized shortcut,
Mm.
not just to being well-informed, but really understanding the why behind it all.
Right.
We're not just scratching the surface here. We're diving deep into the fundamentals of management. What it means to be a manager, organizational structures, culture, the works.
And everything we talk about today comes straight from your study material. We're aiming for those aha moments.
Yeah, getting you there quickly. It's like we're mapping out the whole terrain of modern organizations together.
And it's not just about passing the exam, is it? Although, obviously, that's a big part of it.
For sure.
But understanding these core management ideas, well, it's crucial for making sense of any organization you come across.
That's so true. Whether you're working in one now or hope to lead one someday.
Or even just trying to figure out how businesses and nonprofits work in the real world, these insights are super practical, relevant, and honestly, pretty interesting.
Definitely. So yeah, grab a comfy seat, maybe a coffee, and let's get started.
Okay, let's kick things off right at the beginning. The core definition, what actually is management?
Right. So at its heart, management is all about coordinating and overseeing the work of others.
Others. That's the key part, isn't it?
It really is. Notice that phrase, the work of others. It's not about the manager doing every single task themselves. It's about making sure tasks get done and done well by the team.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be done in two really fundamental ways, efficiently and effectively.
Efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, these two words pop up everywhere in management, don't they?
Constantly. They're foundational.
So let's lock them down right now. When we talk about efficiency, what are we really focusing on?
Efficiency is about doing things right. It means getting the most output from the least input.
Okay, so optimizing resources.
Exactly. Minimizing waste, streamlining processes, maybe using less time, fewer materials, less money to get the same result. It's about being lean.
Right, lean and optimized.
There's a fantastic example from the HON company in your materials. They managed to cut costs by a whopping $7 million.
Wow, 7 million. How?
Just by implementing more efficient practices.
Yeah.
Things like refining their production processes, using fewer materials, maybe less time to make the same number of products.
That's a perfect example of doing things right, making the most of what you've got.
Precisely. So for your exam, remember this link. Efficiency connects directly to resources and doing things right. It's all about optimizing the process.
Okay, efficiency is doing things right. So then, effectiveness must be.
Doing the right things. Effectiveness is all about achieving the desired outcomes. It means focusing on completing the activities that actually help the organization reach its goals.
So, hitting the target, making sure it's the right target.
Exactly. Imagine a company that successfully meets all its customer demands, or maybe significantly improves job safety, leading to fewer accidents.
Okay.
Those are clear examples of effectiveness. They are doing the right things that lead directly to success for the organization and its mission.
So for the exam tip there, effectiveness connects to goals and doing the right things.
You got it. Effectiveness equals goals.
So as a manager, you need both, right? It's not enough to be one or the other.
Absolutely not. You can be incredibly efficient, like making widgets with almost zero waste.
Right.
But if nobody actually wants those widgets, you're not effective.
Or you could be super effective, hitting all your sales targets maybe. But if you're spending a fortune to do it, burning through resources.
Then you're not efficient. That's the critical balancing act. Every successful manager has to master this. You must aim for high efficiency, A&D, high effectiveness.
One without the other just doesn't cut it.
No. Low in both, obviously poor management. But even being effective but inefficient, or efficient but ineffective, you're still falling short. Think about Blockbuster.
Oh yeah, classic example.
They were incredibly efficient at managing their stores, their tapes, the whole rental process.
They had that down.
But they completely failed at being effective in adapting to streaming. They did the old things right, but they didn't do the right new things.
And look what happened. A huge lesson there.
It really is. You absolutely need both for an organization to succeed long term.
Okay, great foundation. efficiency and effectiveness locked in. Now, let's move to the next big piece.
Mm,
The 4 key management functions. I think on Refile originally had 5, right?
he did, yeah. But the modern approach usually simplifies it down to 4 crucial activities that managers perform: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling.
The POLC framework.
Exactly, PLC. It's like a manager's daily roadmap,
Right.
how they steer the organizational shift.
Okay, let's break down POLC, starting with P, planning.
Planning is where it all begins. It's your compass and your charts. This means defining goals, setting out strategies to achieve those goals, and then developing detailed action plans.
So deciding what you want to achieve the destination and then figuring out how to get there.
Precisely. It's the blueprint. Everything else follows from the plan.
Okay, so after planning comes organizing.
Right. Once you know where you're going, you need to arrange everything. The tasks, the people, the resources, like setting up the different crews and stations on your
The
ship.
structure, who does what.
Exactly. Defining who reports to whom, how activities are grouped together. It's about structuring who does what and making sure everyone knows their role in the big picture.
Then L, leading. That sounds like the people part.
It absolutely is. The captain inspiring the crew. It involves motivating and directing your team, communicating effectively, resolving conflicts when they pop up.
So guiding the team.
Yeah, inspiring them, guiding them, steering them through the challenges. That's strong leadership.
And finally, C, controlling.
Controlling. This is like keeping an eye on the ship's gauges, the radar. It's about monitoring performance.
Checking if you're on course.
Exactly. Comparing what's actually happening against the goals you set back in the planning stage. And then, crucially, taking corrective action if things are drifting off track.
Making adjustments.
Right. Ensuring everything stays on course and addressing any deviations from the plan. It closes the loop back to planning.
Okay, POLC. Planning, organizing, leading, controlling. That seems fundamental.
It really is. For your exam, POLC is key. Be ready to define each function and explain how they guide managers. They're all interconnected. Managers are constantly moving between them.
Got it. So managers perform these POLC functions. What skills do they need to do them well?
Good question. Robert L. Katz identified 3 crucial ones: technical, human, and conceptual skills. And what's really interesting is that the importance of these skills changes depending on where a manager sits in the organization's hierarchy.
Okay. Let's start with technical skills. What are those?
Technical skills are the job-specific knowledge and expertise you need to perform tasks. Think of a software development manager. They probably need to understand coding to guide their team effectively.
Or like a factory supervisor knowing the machinery.
Exactly. That kind of hands-on specific knowledge. And these technical skills are most important for first-line managers.
The supervisors, the team leads.
Yes, the ones directly overseeing the daily work of non-managerial employees. They're right there in the trenches, so they need to know the technical details.
Okay, makes sense. Next up, human skills.
Human skills. This is all about working well with other people, individually, in groups. It covers communication, empathy, building relationships, fostering collaboration.
The people skills.
Pretty much.
No.
Dell, for instance, really focused on training their managers in communication and relationship building. They saw it as key. Or think about Verizon maybe promoting a skilled lineman to manager. It's often not just their technical skill, but their excellent human skills, how they interact with the team, with customers.
Right. And where are these most important?
Here's the interesting part. Human skills are equally important at all managerial levels.
All levels. Yeah.
Yep. Whether you're a first-line supervisor dealing with daily team issues or a top CEO navigating complex stakeholder politics, being able to connect with and motivate people is absolutely vital. Non-negotiable, really.
Okay. Technical, human.
Yeah.
What's the third one? Conceptual skills.
Conceptual skills. This is the ability to think abstractly, to analyze complex situations. It's about seeing the big picture.
Strategy. Seeing how all the pieces fit together.
Exactly. Understanding the organization as a whole, its relationship with the external environment, and solving those broad strategic problems.
And who needs these most?
These become most important for top managers. The CEOs, the VPs, they're dealing with the long-term, overarching strategic issues that affect the entire organization.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
They need that high-level view.
Right. And an interesting point here, conceptual skills often improve with experience. The more you practice tackling complex problems and seeing connections, the better you get at it.
So let's recap that for the exam. Skill importance by level.
Okay. First-line managers, High technical, moderate human, low conceptual. They're focused on the day-to-day execution.
Middle managers.
Yeah.
Need a balanced mix, right?
Yep. Balanced across all three, technical, human, conceptual. They're the translators, the bridge between strategy and operations.
And top managers. High conceptual, moderate human, low technical. Their focus is the big picture, the long-term strategy.
Exactly. And while those three are core, don't forget other valuable skills like active listening, creativity, teamwork, even political skill, which is about building influence. They all play a part.
Okay, so we know the functions, the skills.
Yeah.
But what do managers actually do day to day? What are their specific behaviors?
That brings us to Henry Mintzberg's research. He identified 10 specific managerial roles grouped into 3 categories. Think of managers wearing 3 main hats.
3 hats. Okay.
The interpersonal hat, the informational hat, and the decisional hat. These roles describe the actual activities managers engage in, often jumping between them rapidly throughout the day.
Let's start with the interpersonal roles.
Yeah.
Dealing with people.
Exactly. Social and ceremonial duties.
Oh.
First, the figurehead role. This is when a manager performs those ceremonial duties, attending company events, greeting important visitors, signing legal documents. They're the face of the unit.
Okay. Then the leader role.
Leader role fundamental. Directing, motivating subordinates, guiding them, fostering a good work environment, always trying to improve performance and morale.
And the third interpersonal one. Liaison.
Liaison, yeah. Maintaining contacts outside the organization, networking with external stakeholders, industry peers, government officials maybe. Crucial for information gathering and building alliances.
Okay. Interpersonal, done. Next hat. Informational roles. Handling information.
Precisely. Like the team's nerve center. The monitor role is about gathering information, both internal and external. Scanning reports, market trends, competitor activities, listening to employees. Always scanning.
Taking it all in. Then the disseminator role.
That's sharing the information within the organization, passing relevant info to team members, other departments, not just forwarding emails, but interpreting and making it useful.
And the spokesperson role.
Speaking on behalf of the organization to outsiders, giving interviews, making announcements. Your source notes this often overlaps with the figurehead role.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. Final hat. Decisional roles. Making choices, solving problems.
This is where the manager applies all that info. The entrepreneur role is about initiating change and innovation, finding new opportunities, trying to make things better, more competitive, identifying problems and asking, how can we improve this?
Proactive. Then the disturbance handler. Sounds like crisis management.
Exactly that. Stepping in to manage unexpected problems or crises. A supply chain disruption, a product recall, an internal conflict. Putting out fires, restoring stability.
Okay. Resource allocator seems straightforward.
It is. Distributing resources effectively, time, money, equipment, people. Making those tough choices about where to put limited assets for the best impact.
And last one, negotiator.
Negotiator. Participating in negotiation activities, maybe with clients, suppliers, unions. Trying to reach agreements that benefit the organization.
10 roles. That's a lot to remember. Is there a trick?
There is. A helpful mnemonic for your exam is FLL-MDSEDRN.
FLL-MDSEDRN. Okay, break that down.
FLL, figurehead, leader, liaison. Those are your people roles, human interaction.
Got it.
MDS, monitor, disseminator, spokesperson. That's all about info flow, gathering and sharing knowledge.
Okay.
And EDRN, entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, negotiator. These are about making decisions and fixing things, actively shaping the future.
FLL, people. MDS, info, EDRN, decisions fixing.
Nice. That helps a lot. Practice that one, you'll be set.
Okay, let's shift now to the structure of organizations. The levels of managers. Most places have a hierarchy, right?
Typically, yes. Usually 3 main levels. Top, middle, and first-line managers. Each level has different responsibilities, a different focus on those skills we talked about, and different decision-making power.
Let's start at the bottom, closest to the action. First-line managers.
Right. These are your supervisors, team leaders, maybe shift managers. They directly oversee the work of the non-managerial entry-level employees. Their main job is directing daily operations, making sure tasks get done.
And their skill focus. We said high technical and human.
Exactly. They need to know the job well and work effectively with their teams day to day.
Moving up, we have middle managers.
These are your department heads, division managers, maybe regional managers. Their key role is to translate the broad goals set by top management into specific plans for their departments.
So they connect the top to the bottom,
Precisely. They coordinate the work of the first-line managers, acting as that crucial link. And because they bridge strategy and execution, they need that balanced mix of skills: technical, human, and conceptual.
Got it. And at the very top-level managers.
These are the executives, CEOs, presidents, vice presidents. They set the overall goals and strategic direction for the entire organization. They also often represent the organization externally.
And their main skill focus is conceptual.
Definitely. High conceptual skills are vital for them. They need to see the whole system, understand the environment, and formulate those overarching strategies for the long term.
Okay, so the skill importance really shifts as you move up that ladder. Technical at the bottom, balanced in the middle, conceptual at the top.
You've got it. First line needs the expertise, middle needs the balance, top needs the vision.
All right, let's take a step back now and look at where these management ideas came from. The history helps understand the present, right?
Absolutely. We start with the classical approach, which really took shape in the early 20th century. Its main focus: efficiency, rationality, and finding that one best way to do every task.
One best way.
Yeah.
Sounds very precise.
It was. It had two main branches: scientific management and general administrative theory.
Okay, let's tackle scientific management first. Frederick W. Taylor.
That's the key name. Taylor's big idea was to apply scientific methods to individual jobs to maximize efficiency and productivity. He wanted to replace guesswork and old habits, what he called rule-of-thumb methods.
Why? What was the problem he saw?
He observed workers using all sorts of different, often inefficient, methods. He actually believed workers were only producing about a third of what they were capable of.
Wow. So he wanted to standardize things.
Exactly. Standardized procedures match workers' abilities to specific tasks scientifically.
He had 4 principles, right? These seem important.
Very important. First, science, not rule of thumb. Replace old habits with systematic scientific analysis for each part of a task. Measure, analyze, find the best way.
Okay. Second,
Select and train workers scientifically. Choose the right person for the job based on aptitude, then train them properly in the scientifically determined best method. No more learning by trial and error.
third,
Cooperation between workers and management. Both sides should work together using these scientific methods to ensure the job gets done efficiently and standards are met. A partnership focused on efficiency.
and the 4th principle.
Equal division of work. Management focuses on the planning and design of tasks using scientific methods. Workers focus on executing those plans precisely. Clear division of labor. Thinkers plan, doers execute.
And others contributed too. The Gilbreths.
Yes, Frank and Lillian Gilbreth. They were famous for their time in motion studies, using techniques like film analysis to reduce worker fatigue and find even more efficiencies in movements. Really detailed stuff.
Okay, that scientific management focused on the task. What about the other branch? General administrative theory. Henri Fayol.
Right. Fayol took a different angle. Instead of focusing on individual tasks on the factory floor like Taylor, Fayol looked at overall organizational management, the big picture of running the entire enterprise.
And he came up with 14 principles. That sounds like a lot.
It is, but let's highlight a few key ones with lasting impact for your exam. Division of work, the idea that specialization improves efficiency. Still incredibly relevant today in assembly lines or specialized roles.
Makes sense.
What else? Unity of command. We touched on this. Each employee reports to only one manager. Avoids confusion, conflicting orders. Fayol saw this as essential for order and clarity.
Yeah, having multiple bosses sounds like a nightmare.
It usually is. And another big one, esprit de corps, team spirit, promoting harmony and unity among employees. Fayol believed a united workforce is always more productive and cooperative.
So Fayol was about structure and overall organization, while Taylor was about optimizing the individual job.
Exactly. Both under the classical umbrella, both focused on rationality and efficiency, but from different levels. They really provided a blueprint for that early hierarchical, structured organization.
Okay, after the classical approach, what came next? Things started shifting towards people, right?
They did. The behavioral approach emerged, and it shifted the focus squarely onto the human side of organizations, how people behave, interact, motivate each other within groups. This really paved the way for what we now call organizational behavior, or OB.
And the big breakthrough here was?
Without a doubt, the Hawthorne studies. These are probably the single most important contribution to the OB field.
What were they about initially?
Ironically, they started as a very scientific management-type experiment at the Western Electric Company. Researchers wanted to see how changing physical conditions, specifically lighting levels, affected worker productivity. purely technical focus.
But that's not what they found, was it?
Not at all. They discovered something groundbreaking. Productivity actually increased, but it wasn't just because of the lighting changes. It increased primarily because the workers felt observed, felt valued, felt cared for by the researchers.
The Hawthorne effect.
Exactly. It revealed the huge importance of human relations, employee motivation, group dynamics, social factors in the workplace. It showed managers needed to understand people, their feelings, social needs, group interactions, not just processes and machines. It was a massive shift in thinking. People mattered.
Okay, so classical was efficiency, behavioral was people. What else? Numbers.
Yeah, the quantitative approach. This one is pretty straightforward. It applies mathematical and statistical methods to improve managerial decision-making.
Like using data analysis.
Exactly. Think about airlines using algorithms to figure out faster boarding procedures, or companies using stats to optimize inventory levels, using numbers to make better, more informed decisions.
And related to that is TQM, total quality management.
It's very related. TQM isn't just a technique, it's more of a whole philosophy. It focuses on continuous improvement and achieving total customer satisfaction by constantly striving for zero defects.
Continuous improvement, never settling.
Right. And it has some key principles you should know. First, customer focus. And that means both external customers buying your stuff and internal customers, your colleagues who depend on your work, your suppliers. Everyone's a customer.
Okay, what else?
Continual improvement, as you said, always looking for ways to get better. Even small steps add up. Third, process focus. Quality comes from refining the work processes, not just checking the final product. Find the root cause of errors in the process.
Fix the system, not just the output.
Exactly. Fourth, quality everywhere. It applies to everything: the product, delivery, handling complaints, internal communication. Fifth, accurate measurement. Use statistical tools to identify and fix root problems, letting data guide you.
Empowering employees.
Yes. Sixth, employee empowerment. Frontline workers are actively involved in finding and solving quality issues themselves. They're closest to the work, so they often have the best ideas. TQM relies on that bottom-up involvement.
Okay, classical, behavioral, quantitative.
Yeah.
What about more modern views?
Two big ones stand out: systems theory and the contingency approach. Let's start with systems theory.
Okay, the core idea.
That organizations are open systems. This means they interact with and depend on their external environment. Success isn't just about internal efficiency. It's about how all the parts work together and how the organization responds to outside factors.
So not operating in a vacuum.
Definitely not. Key concepts include: organizations are open systems, taking inputs, materials, info, people from the environment and producing outputs, products, services, waste, back into it. All the internal parts are interdependent. Individuals, groups, goals, processes, they're all linked. Change one thing and it affects others, like ripples in a pond. And crucially, the external environment matters enormously. Managers have to constantly consider suppliers, customers, regulations, technology, market shifts. It's about seeing the whole ecosystem, the big picture connections.
Okay, that makes sense. Seeing the whole system. What about the contingency approach?
This one is perhaps the most practical and widely accepted modern perspective. The core idea is simple but powerful. It depends.
It depends.
Yeah. There are no universal one-size-fits-all rules in management. What works brilliantly in one company or situation might completely fail in another.
So context is key.
Absolutely. It uses if-then logic. If the situation is X, like a stable market, then the best management approach might be Y, like more formalized procedures. If the situation is Z, a rapidly changing market, then approach W, like decentralized decision-making, might be better.
So adapting to the specific circumstances.
Exactly. It recognizes that those early management principles aren't always universally applicable. Organizations differ hugely in size, goals, technology, the work they do, so management practices must be adapted to fit these unique situational differences.
So it depends is actually a really profound idea.
It really is. It forces managers away from searching for that single magic bullet or universal truth. Instead, they have to be like skilled navigators, constantly reading the specific situation, the winds, the currents, and adjusting their approach accordingly. Flexibility and adaptation are key.
That's a great way to think about it. Okay, let's talk more about that external environment that the systems and contingency approaches emphasize. It's everything outside the organization that affects it, right?
Precisely. All those outside factors that can impact performance. They create challenges, constraints, but also opportunities for managers. You have to be aware of them, like a captain watching the weather forecast.
Your study material lists 6 key external factors. Good to memorize these.
Definitely. First, economic factors. Things like interest rates, inflation, income changes, stock markets, business cycles, they directly impact spending, costs, investment.
Second, demographic factors.
Yeah.
Population trends, age, race, gender, education, location, income, family structures. Think about an aging population changes the workforce and what customers need.
Third, political legal. Laws, regulations, political stability, local, national, global. A new environmental law, for instance, can completely change how a company operates.
Fourth, sociocultural. Society's values, attitudes, lifestyles, traditions, social trends, like the growing demand for sustainable products, that's a big sociocultural shift.
Fifth, technological. Innovations, scientific advances. New tech like AI can create new markets, disrupt old ones almost overnight. Constant change here.
And sixth, global. Globalization trends, the world economy, international issues like trade deals, pandemics, geopolitics. These forces open markets but also create new risks.
And why does scanning this environment matter so much?
Because organizations have to adapt to survive, right? Examples like Compaq, Gillette, Lehman Brothers,
Yeah.
they all faced huge impacts from these external forces.
Exactly. Managers constantly navigate this environmental uncertainty. Economic and demographic shifts, especially, force constant reassessment. And a big part of managing this is dealing with stakeholders.
Right, stakeholders. Let's define them clearly.
Stakeholders are any groups or individuals affected by an organization's decisions and actions, and who can, in turn, influence that organization. They have a stake in what happens.
Who counts as a stakeholder? It's a wide group.
Very wide. Employees, unions, shareholders, the owners, customers, the communities where you operate, suppliers, social and political action groups, competitors, trade associations, governments, the media. Basically, anyone with a connection or influence.
And why is managing these relationships so vital?
Several key reasons. It builds trust and flexibility, which helps you adapt to change. It improves your ability to predict environmental shifts because you're talking to people on the front lines. It often leads to more successful innovations because you understand external needs better.
Reduces risks, too.
Yeah, it can reduce negative impacts from unexpected changes, like a new regulation or bad press. And ultimately, good stakeholder management positively affects overall performance. Top companies know this. They consider all major stakeholders in their decisions, not just shareholders. It's about balancing everyone's interests.
Okay, let's zoom out now to the global stage. Managing in a global environment. When companies go international, managers have different attitudes, don't they?
They do, and these attitudes really shape how they operate abroad. There are 3 main ones.
First, the ethnocentric attitude. Home country knows best.
Pretty much. Our way is the best way. Managers with this view believe home country methods, practices, and even employees are superior. They might distrust foreign employees' abilities. Decision-making is highly centralized at headquarters.
Like trying to run a branch in Tokyo exactly like the office in New York.
Exactly. Ignoring local differences, believing their way is the only way.
Okay, second attitude, polycentric.
Polycentric is the opposite. Host country knows best. Here, managers trust local employees to understand their own markets and cultures. They see each foreign unit as unique and give them significant local autonomy.
So the car company, letting its Japanese branch design cars specifically for Japan.
Perfect example. Recognizing and respecting local preferences and needs. Decentralized decision-making.
And the third one, geocentric. This sounds like the ideal one.
It often is. Geocentric means best people and practices, regardless of where they come from. It's a truly global viewpoint. It mixes global and local talent and ideas, focuses on cross-cultural understanding and synergy.
Seeking the best from anywhere.
Exactly. It's considered ideal for modern multinational leadership because it aims for a truly integrated global enterprise, leveraging the best resources and ideas worldwide.
And there's a warning about only knowing one language. Monolingualism.
Yes, and parochialism. Monolingualism, only knowing one language, often leads to parochialism, which is a narrow worldview believing our way is the only way. This narrowness can really limit a company's ability to understand diverse global markets and adapt effectively. Big barrier to global success.
Okay, so these attitudes influence how companies structure themselves globally. MNC structures.
Right. As organizations go global, they adopt different structures. An MNC, multinational corporation, is just the general term for any company operating in multiple countries. But within that, there are specific types based on their strategy.
Like a multi-domestic organization.
Yes, a multi-domestic structure features decentralized management. Local branches make most decisions. It fits perfectly with that polycentric attitude, tailoring products and services to specific local markets. Lots of local autonomy.
Okay. And the opposite, a global organization.
A global organization has centralized management back in the home country. It standardizes operations worldwide. This usually follows an ethnocentric attitude, emphasizing consistency and global efficiency, often sacrificing local adaptation.
And the most complex one, transnational.
The transnational organization. This aims for the best of both worlds. It operates without artificial national boundaries, embracing a geocentric attitude. It uses the best people and practices from anywhere, combining global integration with local responsiveness. Highly sophisticated, truly global entities.
To manage all this cultural complexity, Hofstede's work is key, right? 5 dimensions of national culture.
Absolutely crucial. Geert Hofstede's framework helps compare national cultures and understand how those deep-suited values influence workplace behavior and management practices, essential for global managers.
Let's focus on a few that really impact work. First, individualism versus collectivism.
Right. Individualistic cultures like the US or UK prioritize personal goals, independence, self-interest. People might expect individual rewards.
Whereas collectivistic cultures, like China or Japan,
Value group goals, loyalty, team cohesion above individual desires. This fundamental difference impacts everything: communication, decision-making, reward systems, huge implications.
second dimension, power distance. How unequal power is accepted.
Exactly. High-power distance cultures like India or Mexico accept hierarchy. Subordinates rarely challenge authority openly.
Low power distance, like Denmark or Sweden.
Value equality. Managers and employees interact more as equals, more open communication. This strongly influences leadership styles and how formal or informal the structure is.
Third, uncertainty avoidance. How comfortable are people with ambiguity?
Right. High uncertainty avoidance cultures, like Greece or Portugal, prefer clear rules, stability, structured situations, less tolerant of risk or change.
Low uncertainty avoidance, like Singapore or the US.
More tolerant of risk, change, ambiguity. Often embrace innovation more readily. This affects risk-taking, innovation, how you manage change.
Okay, for the exam, a quick summary table might help, like individualism versus collectivism, personal freedom versus group loyal, USA versus China, power distance accepts inequality versus prefers equality, India versus Sweden, uncertainty avoidance avoids risk versus accepts ambiguity, Greece versus Singapore.
Perfect. And the other two are achievement versus nurturing, competitive versus caring, Japan versus Netherlands, and long-term versus short-term orientation, future focus versus present focus, China versus USA. Knowing these helps managers anticipate and adapt.
Which leads nicely to the idea of a global mindset, essential for global leaders today.
Absolutely essential. It's the ability to understand and adapt effectively to different cultural and business environments. Leaders with this mindset are just much better equipped for cross-cultural success.
Your material breaks it down into 3 key components. Good for exam recall.
Definitely. First, intellectual capital. This is what you know. Knowledge of international business, global economics, cultures, market systems. Your global IQ.
Second, psychological capital, your mindset.
Yes, your mindset and attitude. Openness to new ideas, curiosity, adaptability, willingness to take risks, confidence in uncertainty, being comfortable being uncomfortable.
And third, social capital, how you connect.
Exactly. How well you connect globally. Building relationships across cultures, strong communication, fostering trust, emotional intelligence, respecting differences, building bridges.
So the bottom line is, managers with that global mindset are hugely valuable.
Incredibly valuable. They can adapt leadership, understand sensitivities, and drive success in diverse international settings. It's about seeing the world as interconnected and navigating it skillfully.
Okay, let's shift from the global view back inside the organization to workplace diversity. What's the core idea here?
Diversity is about recognizing and valuing the differences and similarities among people in an organization, and it goes way beyond just the visible stuff.
Right, not just race or gender.
No. It extends to experiences, values, communication styles, ways of thinking. It's about the richness that comes from varied perspectives.
Your material mentions 2 levels of diversity, surface and deep.
Yes, good distinction for the exam. Surface-level diversity is the visible stuff. Age, race, gender. These can unfortunately lead to stereotypes initially, but become less important as people work together.
And deep-level diversity.
That's the internal stuff. Values, personality, work preferences, ways of thinking. These are actually far more important for teamwork, leadership, and long-term effectiveness because they really influence how people interact and contribute. That's where the real value lies.
So why is diversity so important? What are the benefits?
Huge benefits. In people management, it helps attract and retain top talent, leads to better team decisions because you have more perspectives, and fosters more creative solutions, different ways of thinking tackling a problem.
And for organizational performance.
Often leads to lower turnover, greater flexibility to adapt, more effective problem saving. When your team reflects the world, you're better equipped for the world's challenges.
Strategically, too.
Yes, strategic advantages, better market insights, reaching diverse customers, that's a competitive edge. Plus, ethically, it's simply the right thing to do.
But there are risks if it's mismanaged.
Definitely. Conflicts can arise from misunderstandings. Discrimination lawsuits are a real risk. Remember the Abercrombie and Fitch example about hiring practices? And you can lose great talent if people don't feel included.
So the manager's role is crucial.
Absolutely. Recognize differences and commonalities, build trust, create inclusive environments, promote cultural intelligence, make everyone feel they belong and can contribute fully.
Let's touch on some specific types of diversity. Age diversity, managing different generations.
Yeah, boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, all working together. The challenge is overcoming stereotypes like older workers being slow or younger ones entitled. There are laws against age discrimination. Managers need to avoid bias, encourage collaboration, leverage everyone's strengths.
Gender diversity, women in the workforce, pay gaps.
Right. Women are about half the workforce, but issues like the pay gap and reaching top leadership persist. Interestingly, research shows no significant performance differences based on gender. Women often bring inclusive leadership styles. Managers need to value everyone's strength and tackle unconscious bias.
Disability abilities diversity.
The ADA requires reasonable accommodations. The challenge is the wide range of disabilities and sometimes lingering biases. But the reality, most individuals with disabilities perform excellently with the right support. Managers need to create an inclusive, respectful, adaptive environment focused on abilities.
GLBT, sexual orientation and gender identity.
No federal law covers everything in the U.S., but many states and most large companies do have policies against discrimination here. Still, individuals can face subtle bias or job insecurity. Managers have a clear responsibility to ensure a safe, respectful, inclusive workplace for everyone.
And there are other types too, right? Socioeconomic status, appearance, seniority.
Many others. The manager's overall responsibility is constant. Promote fairness, prevent discrimination, support every employee, ensure everyone feels valued.
Which brings us to discrimination itself, often rooted in personal bias.
Right. Personal bias means preconceived notions based on our own experiences, culture. It can show up as prejudice, prejudging, stereotyping, oversimplifying groups, or actual discrimination, unfair treatment.
And even if overt discrimination is down, subtle forms persist.
Yes, unconscious exclusion, microaggressions, incivility, they still happen and are damaging. They hurt harmony, reduce productivity, create legal and ethical nightmares.
So managers have to actively fight bias.
Actively, in themselves and their teams, constantly working towards a truly fair, equitable, and inclusive environment. It's ongoing work.
Okay, let's pivot now to a core task for every manager. Decision-making. Making choices that shape everything.
Absolutely fundamental. And for your exam, understanding the 8 steps in the decision-making process is crucial. It's a systematic way to make rational, effective choices.
Step 1. Identify the problem. What's the real issue?
Exactly. Recognizing a gap between the current state and the desired state, and digging deeper than symptoms. Low sales are a symptom. The problem might be outdated products or poor marketing. Your material use is Amanda, the sales manager, with slow laptops hindering her team. That's a clear problem identified.
Step 2. Identify decision criteria. What factors matter for the solution?
Right. What defines a good decision here? For Amanda's laptops. Memory, battery life, weight, warranty, display quality. These are the benchmarks.
Step 3. Allocate weights to criteria. Not all criteria are equal.
Usually not. So you assign importance, maybe on a 1-10 scale. Memory gets a 10, battery an 8, weight a 6, and so on. Quantifies priorities for objective comparison.
Step 4. Develop alternatives. Brainstorming options.
Yes. List all possible solutions without evaluating them yet. Be creative. Amanda might list 8 different laptop brands and models.
Step 5. Analyze alternatives. Now evaluate them.
Now you evaluate each option against your weighted criteria. Rate each one, multiply by the weight, sum the scores. Amanda's analysis might show the Dell Inspiron scoring highest, say 249.
Step 6. Select the best alternative. Choose the winner.
Usually the one with the highest score or best overall fit based on your analysis. Amanda selects the Dell Inspiron. The choice is made.
Step 7. Implement the decision. Put it into action.
Crucial step. A decision isn't real until it's implemented. Communicate it, get buy-in from those affected, make it happen. Amanda tells IT and her staff, arranges the rollout.
And finally, step 8. Evaluate decision effectiveness. Did it work?
Follow up. Assess if the problem was actually solved. Did the new laptops improve productivity? If not, you might need to revisit earlier steps. Maybe you misidentified the problem or need different alternatives. Continuous improvement loop.
That 8-step process seems really logical. But do managers always follow it perfectly?
That brings us to rationality versus bounded rationality. Ideally, managers make rational decisions logical, consistent, objective, maximizing the organization's benefit.
The ideal world scenario.
Right. It assumes perfect information, clear problems, known outcomes, no time limits. Pretty unrealistic most of the time.
So what's the reality? Bounded rationality.
Exactly. This is much more realistic. It acknowledges that managers make decisions within limits bounded by real-world constraints. Limited time, limited information, limited cognitive ability to process everything.
We can't know or process everything.
Precisely. So instead of finding the absolute best, optimal solution, managers often satisfies,
Meaning?
choose a solution that is good enough or satisfactory rather than perfect. It's efficient, practical, even if not theoretically optimal. The finance grad taking a good enough job offer instead of searching endlessly for the perfect one that's satisfying, it's rational within bounds.
And this bounded rationality explains why decisions involve trade-offs that are influenced by culture, politics.
Yes, and that tricky bias, escalation of commitment.
Yes, throwing good money after bad.
That's the essence of it. Continuing to invest time, money, effort into a bad decision, even when negative feedback says it's failing.
Why people do that?
Often fear of failure, ego, or the sunk cost fallacy, focusing on past investments, sunk costs, instead of future outcomes. It's hard to admit a mistake and walk away, especially if you've invested a lot.
The challenger example is chilling, or companies pouring money into failing products.
Exactly. We've already spent so much, we can't stop now. That thinking leads to escalating commitment to a losing strategy. Very common, very dangerous bias.
Okay, let's look at the types of problems managers face. Structured versus unstructured.
Right. Structured problems are routine, familiar, clearly defined. The solutions are often known or easily found.
And these lead to program decisions.
Yes, standard, routine responses. You don't need to reinvent the wheel each time. Think preset solutions.
Like procedures, rules, policies.
Exactly. A procedure is a step-by-step method, like processing a refund. A rule is a clear do-don't statement, no smoking. A policy is a general guideline, more flexible, aim for excellent customer service. A spilled drink complaint leading to a standard compensation that's a programmed decision.
Okay, then unstructured problems.
These are new, complex, ambiguous. No routine solution exists because the situation is unique or hasn't been seen before.
And they require non-programmed decisions.
Yes. Unique, creative, custom-made solutions requires judgment, critical thinking, like deciding how to respond to that new city law about menu labeling, no rulebook for that.
And who deals with which type more often?
Generally, lower-level managers handle more programmed decisions, routine operations. Top-level managers face more non-programmed decisions, strategic, novel issues. But most decisions are probably a mix.
Got it. Now, the conditions under which decisions are made. Certainty, risk, uncertainty.
These describe how much information you have and how predictable the outcomes are.
Certainty sounds nice, but rare.
Very rare in management. It means you know exactly what the outcome of each alternative will be. All info available, accurate. Like the treasurer choosing a bank knowing the exact interest rates, mostly theoretical.
More common is risk.
Much more common. Outcomes aren't certain, but you can estimate probabilities based on past data or experience. Managers use tools like expected value, the ski resort manager analyzing snowfall data to decide on a new lift that's decision-making under risk.
And the toughest, uncertainty.
The toughest. No reliable info, no probability estimates. Outcomes are completely unpredictable. The situation is new or too complex. Managers have to rely on judgment, intuition, strategic thinking.
And under uncertainty, different decision styles emerge, like Maximax, Maximin.
Right. Your mindset plays a role. Maximax, optimist. Choose the option with the best possible payoff. Maximin, pessimist. Choose the option with the best worst-case scenario. Minimize potential loss. Minimax, regret. Choose the option that minimizes your potential regret of making the wrong choice.
Like a marketing manager launching a totally new campaign with no data.
Perfect example of uncertainty. Most complex business decisions really fall under risk or uncertainty.
Okay, one more crucial thing about decisions: biases and errors. Those mental shortcuts, heuristics, can lead us astray.
They definitely can. Heuristics help simplify things, but they can cause systematic errors or biases. Awareness is the key to avoiding them.
Let's quickly list some common ones. Overconfidence bias, thinking you know more than you do.
Yep. Overestimating your accuracy. Immediate gratification bias. Wanton rewards now, undervaluing long-term benefits.
Anchoring effect, getting stuck on the first piece of info.
Right. Failing to adjust properly. Confirmation bias. Seeking info that confirms what you already believe, ignoring contradictory evidence. Very common.
And the big one we discussed, sunk cost error, leads to escalation of commitment.
Exactly. Focusing on past investments, not future outcomes. We've already spent millions. That's the sunk cost trap.
Also, self-serving bias,
Right?
take credit, blame others.
Yeah.
And hindsight bias.
Yeah.
I knew it all along.
Those two. So how do you avoid these?
Awareness first. Question your own habits. Evaluate your heuristics. And get feedback from others.
Absolutely. Trusted colleagues can spot your blind spots. Crucial check and balance.
Okay, solid understanding decision-making. Let's move to planning and strategic management. Planning seems pretty essential.
Fundamental. Planning means setting goals, deciding strategies, developing plans to coordinate work, charting the course.
And formal planning. That's written down, specific.
Yes. Specific, written goals for a set time period shared with employees, creates clarity, coordination, focuses on the ends, goals, and the means, how to achieve them.
Why bother planning? What are the benefits?
4 key reasons. 1, it provides direction, aligns everyone, prevents working at cross purposes, like everyone on the ship knowing the destination.
2,
Reduces uncertainty, helps anticipate change, prepare responses, makes the future feel more manageable.
3,
Minimizes waste and redundancy, efficient use of resources, people, time, money, avoids duplication.
and 4.
Sets standards for control. Goals become benchmarks for measuring performance. Without plans, control is impossible, nothing to measure against.
And does formal planning actually improve performance?
Generally, yes. Studies show it correlates with better performance, but the quality of the plan and how well it's implemented matter most. Long-term planning, 4+ years, often shows the best results.
Okay, let's talk types of goals and types of plans. Organizations have multiple goals, right? Not just profit.
Definitely. Focusing only on profit can lead to problems. Businesses and nonprofits have various goals: financial, market share, customer satisfaction, social impact. A hospital needs patient care and financial stability.
You mentioned financial goals, profit, ROI, and strategic goals, mission, growth, innovation.
Right. Financial goals are often about the numbers. Strategic goals are about the bigger picture, long-term position.
And the key difference between stated goals and real goals.
Crucial distinction. Stated goals are the official ones, annual reports, websites, often vague, aspirational, good PR. Real goals are what the organization actually pursues, shown by its actions and resource allocation.
Like the university saying small classes but having huge lectures.
Perfect example. Actions reveal the real priorities.
Okay, now types of plans. Classified by 4 criteria. Breadth.
Yes, breadth. Strategic plans are broad, organization-wide, long-term. Operational plans are narrow, specific departments' tasks, short-term, repetitive, like weekly schedules.
Time frame.
Long-term, 3+ years versus short-term,
Yeah.
1 year. Specific plans. Clear goals, no ambiguity, good in stable environments. Directional plans. Flexible, broad guidelines, good in uncertain times.
And frequency of use.
Single-use plans. For unique, one-time projects, like Walmart entering China. Standing plans. Ongoing guidelines for repeated actions, policies, procedures, rules like a harassment policy. Large orgs use a mix.
How are goals actually set? Different approaches.
Yes. First, traditional goal setting top-down. Goals set at the top, cascade down as sub-goals. Assumes top knows best.
Challenges there. This interpretation, lack of die-in.
Can be. Risk of distortion as goals move down, maybe an illusion of clarity from the top, needs good communication.
The means-ends chain helps with alignment.
It does. Lower-level goals means directly support higher-level goals. Ends creates a clear chain. But the caution, don't focus only on ends. The how, the means, must be ethical.
And management by objectives. MBO. Collaborative.
Very collaborative. Managers and employees mutually agree on specific measurable goals. Encourages participation, clarity, tracking. Used for motivation and evaluation.
And MBO has operational steps.
Yeah.
A control cycle.
Yes. 1. Set measurable goals. 2. Quantify qualitative goals, KPIs, surveys. 3. Develop an action plan. 4. Implement and track performance. 5. Collect data compared to target. 6. Take corrective action if needed. Continuous loop.
And good MBO goals are
Outcome-oriented, measurable, time-bound, challenging but attainable, documented, clearly communicated, SMART goals, basically.
okay. Planning requires knowing your environment. Environmental scanning.
Essential. Systematically collecting and analyzing external info trends, opportunities, threats, like the ship's lookout.
Understanding social, economic, tech, political shifts, like Indra Nooyi visiting homes in China.
Great example. Getting first-hand insight, and a key part is competitor intelligence.
Gathering public info about rivals to anticipate moves.
Exactly. Using ads, websites, reports, trade shows, job postings, analyzing products. Not espionage must be legal and ethical. Avoid stealing trade secrets. Stay within bounds.
Right. Which leads us to strategic management, the big picture plan.
The whole process. Developing, implementing, evaluating strategies to achieve goals. Involves all POLC functions at a high level.
And a strategy is.
The plan of action for competing successfully, attracting customers, achieving goals. Your game plan.
Tied to the business model. How you make money by delivering value.
Precisely. Does the customer value it? Can we profit? Dell selling directly online, perfect example of a disruptive, successful business model. Reduced costs, customization, speed. Customers valued it, Dell profited.
And strategic management is important because
Improves performance, helps handle uncertainty, coordinates complex operations, keeps everyone aligned.
okay, the strategic management process. 6 steps. Vital sequence. Step 1.
Identify current mission, goals, and strategies. Start with the mission statement defines purpose, why do we exist? Covers customers, products, markets, philosophy, image, employees.
Step 2. External analysis. Scan the environment.
Yes. Analyze economic, global, tech, demographic, political, legal, sociocultural trends. Identify opportunities, positive trends, and threats, negative trends.
Step 3. Internal analysis. Look inside.
Focus on organization's resources, what it has, and capabilities, how it works, skills, processes. Identify core competencies, unique strengths, outcome. Identify internal strength and weaknesses.
Combine internal and external for a SWOT analysis.
Exactly. Strengths, weaknesses, internal, plus opportunities, threats, external.
Oh, yeah.
Helps you leverage strength opportunities, counter threats, fix weaknesses, comprehensive view.
Step 4. Formulate strategies based on SWOT.
Align strategy with environment and internal capacity. Develop corporate, but business, competitive, how to compete, functional, how to support strategies.
Step 5. Implement strategies. Turn plans into action.
Critical step. Execution matters most. Poor implementation kills great strategy. Requires leadership, communication, resources.
Step 6. Evaluate results. Did it work? Adapt.
Assess if goals met. If not, take corrective action. Adapt, redesign. Like Xerox CEO Ursula Burns making changes. It's a continuous loop.
Okay, let's look at types of corporate strategy. What business are we in? First, growth strategy.
Expanding markets or products. Methods include concentration. Focus on primary business like Bose. Vertical integration. Control supply chain backward. Become supplier like eBay, PayPal. Forward. Become distributor like Apple stores.
Also, horizontal integration combined with competitors like L'Oreal Body Shop, and diversification related or unrelated industries like Tata Group.
Right. And in diversified firms, you have strategic business units, SBUs, independent units with own strategy, like LVMH's fashion, perfume, watch units.
Second corporate strategy, stability strategy. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Pretty much no major growth or decline, maybe during a recession like Cadbury holding steady.
Third, renewal strategy for declining performance.
Yes. Retrenchment strategy is a short-term fix for minor issues, cost cuts. Turnaround strategy is major changes for serious problems. Restructuring, deep cuts, changing everything people, process, policy.
For managing multiple businesses, the BCG matrix is key. Corporate portfolio management.
Crucial tool. Helps allocate resources based on business potential. Uses 2 axes, market share, low-high, and market growth, low-high.
Creating 4 categories. Stars.
High share, high growth, invest heavily, future cash cows.
Cash cows.
High share, low growth, milk profits, low investment needed. Fund stars and question marks. Grameen Phones Network is a good example.
Question marks.
Low share, high growth. Analyze carefully. Invest to make them stars. Or sell. Risky but potential.
And dogs.
Low share, low growth. Sell or liquidate. Drain resources.
The mnemonic. Stars shine, cows fund, questions confused, dogs out.
Perfect for recall.
Okay, moving down a level. Competitive strategy. How to win in your market.
Right. Defines how you compete. For diversified companies, each SBU has its own. LVMH's different brands each compete differently.
Goal is competitive advantage. Your distinctive edge.
Exactly. What sets you apart comes from core competencies or unique resources, like Michelin's tech, Coke's brand, Ritz-Carlton's service, Southwest's cost, Walmart's efficiency.
Quality can be an advantage too, like Kellogg's cereals.
Absolutely. Continuous improvement in quality builds trust and loyalty.
But you have to sustain the advantage.
Crucial point. Markets change. Tech evolves. Strategic management helps sustain that edge over time through adaptation and innovation.
To analyze the industry itself, Porter's 5 forces model.
Crucial.
Very crucial. Analyzes industry competitiveness and profit potential, determines how attractive or risky an industry is.
Force 1, threat of new entrants. How easy to get in.
Yes, easy entry, more competition, lower profits. Barriers like cost, brand loyalty, patents reduce this threat.
Force 2, threat of substitutes. Can something else meet the need?
Right. More substitutes, less demand, price pressure, tea versus coffee, Uber versus taxis.
Force 3, bargaining power of buyers. Can customers push prices down?
Yes. More buyer power, lower profits. High power of few buyers, easy switching, bulk buying.
Force 4, bargaining power of suppliers. Can suppliers raise prices?
Yes. More supplier power, higher input costs, lower profits. High power of few suppliers, no substitutes, high switching cost.
Force 5, industry rivalry. How intense is current competition? High rivalry, price wars, lower margins. High when many competitors, slow growth, similar firms. Porter's model helps evaluate industry conditions.
In today's world, strategic flexibility is vital, adapting quickly.
Essential. Ability to quickly adapt, reallocate resources, correct course. Like Spartan Motors shifting to monthly planning, move fast, fix mistakes. Agility.
And this requires effective strategic leadership, using that PDC, HRC, RU mnemonic.
Exactly. Purpose of vision, value score competencies, culture, human capital, relationships, challenge reframing, ethical practices, wisdom-balanced controls, guiding the strategy effectively.
Okay, last major section. Organizing an organizational culture. Organizing is about structure.
Arranging and structuring work to meet goals. Managers design structure using 6 key elements.
Element 1, work specialization, division of labor, breaking tasks down.
Yes. Dividing work into separate tasks increases efficiency, like McDonald's assembly line, but caution. Over-specialization can cause boredom, lower productivity.
Element 2, departmentalization, grouping jobs, 5 types.
Right, functional by function. HR, sales, geographical by territory, product by product line, TVs, phones. Process by production step, dying, stitching. Customer by customer type, retail versus corporate. Large orgs often combine these.
Element 3, chain of command, who reports to whom.
Clear line of authority. Includes authority, line versus staff, responsibility, duty to perform, and traditionally unity of command. One boss, though less rigid now.
Element 4, span of control, how many people manager supervises.
Yes, wider spans, maybe fewer managers, maybe more efficient. Narrow, closer supervision, costlier. Modern view. Depends on complexity, skill, tech. No fixed number.
Element 5, centralization versus decentralization, where are decisions made.
Centralization. Decisions at top levels. Decentralization. Pushed down to lower levels. Modern trend often towards more decentralization for flexibility.
Element 6, formalization, how standardized are rules and procedures.
Degree of written rules. High formalization. Intertrict. Army. Low formalization. Flexible startups. Shown visually in an org chart.
Okay, structure is one thing. What about organizational culture? The personality.
Exactly. Shared beliefs, assumptions, values, norms that guide behavior. What happens when the boss isn't around? The unwritten rules.
And culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Drucker's famous quote, means even the best strategy fails if the culture doesn't support it. Culture guides tasks, decisions, alignment.
Different types of culture. Clan, adhocracy.
Yes. Clan, family-like, loyal. Adhocracy, innovative, risk-taking. Market, target-driven, performance-focused. Hierarchy, bureaucratic, rules-based. Also, academy, baseball team, club, fortress, each with pros and cons.
And cultures maintained how? Selection, top management behavior, socialization.
Those are the key mechanisms. Selection, hiring for cultural fit. Top management behavior, leaders as role models. Socialization, training newcomers.
And strong culture leads to better performance.
Generally, yes. Strong, aligned culture, higher performance, engagement, satisfaction. Weak or misaligned culture, problems.
How do employees learn the culture? Stories, symbols, language, rituals.
All of those. Stories, heroes, events, symbols, logos, dress code, office layout, language, jargon, acronyms, rituals, ceremonies, meetings, awards nights. They all transmit the values.
And need to be aware of global regional cultural variations.
Absolutely. Norms vary, direct versus indirect communication. Values differ, equality versus hierarchy. Strategies must adapt locally, flexible hours versus fixed. Avoid misunderstandings through sensitivity.
Wow, okay. That was a comprehensive tour. We covered a huge amount.
We really did. From the basics of efficiency and effectiveness, through PLLC, skills, roles, history, modern approaches.
External environment, stakeholders, global management, diversity, decision-making biases.
Planning, strategy, SWOT, PCG, Porter's 5 forces, structure, and finally, culture. Phew.
These are definitely the core building blocks for understanding organizations and hopefully for acing that exam.
You've absolutely got this. We've laid out the key concepts, the examples, those mnemonics. Go back, review them, try active recall quiz yourself.
Think about how you'd apply these ideas to exam questions or even situations you see in the news or at work.
Exactly. Remember, management is this blend of art and science, always evolving. You now have a fantastic foundation.
So as you prepare, here's a final thought to chew on. With technology and global culture changing so fast, which of these management concepts or approaches do you think will be the most critical for success in the next decade? What will really separate the great leaders?
Good question to ponder. Good luck with your studies, and truly all the best for your exam.
We know you'll do great. Farewell for now.